I want to go back to the other questions. I just want to make one other point. I guess I'll say challenge. One of the biggest existential challenges for the industry at large, when I think about this from a macro perspective, is the erosion of trust. And so providing transparency is paramount. It's no longer a buzzword. It's table stakes.
The biggest problem, and the one that's hardest to solve, is spoofing. Publishers don't have the ability to find out who's spoofing their site until it's too late.
Fraudsters are getting smarter, and they don't stop working at 5 p.m.
As more dollars come into programmatic, advertisers are paying closer attention to whether they are reaching a consumer, who they are working with, and how this whole industry works. So 2017 is the year that they said, if I'm going to continue to invest, this industry needs to answer those questions. On the flip side, publishers said, if I'm going to move more of my inventory through programmatic channels, I need to make sure that others are not capitalizing and taking dollars out of my pocket.
When our website is spoofed and somebody is selling Business Insider inventory, it presents a problem from a buyer perspective. On top of that, somebody gets paid when an advertiser buys that inventory, and it isn't us.
Ads.txt addresses one component of transparency, which is the path to supply. And it gives publishers an opportunity to raise their hand and say, these are my approved paths to my supply.
Sellers need to place their ads.txt files on their pages, which is not hard. Then buyers need to make sure that their technology has the ability to siphon out the publisher IDs that are in the ads.txt files. For ads.txt to reach critical mass, it needs to be adopted industry-wide.
I don't really think there is a critical mass that's needed.
Widespread adoption, may only need to be limited to a few hundred of the most prominent media properties for it to be effective.
Critical mass is one buyer and one seller. We're seeing more and more domains adopting the technology every day.
We believe the most serious and the biggest threat to the ad industry is coming from ad fraud. We're now seeing fraudsters deploy machine learning to further their cause and unleash fraud types that have never been seen before.
So we need to make sure that fraud in any form is eradicated so that advertiser budget reaches the publisher and the advertiser can deliver their message to the end consumer. That's really the whole goal in all of this. Advertisers should not pay for fraud. The end. There's a number of different ways that you can actually administer that or achieve that goal. And we've looked at all of them. Credits and refunds, thresholds of acceptable fraud. All of these things create complexity from an operational standpoint. Let's stop fraud at the door. That way, before the bid or impression leaves the station, it's already been blocked.
Ultimately, we want to get to a point where no one is getting paid for non-human traffic. So we're working with our partners to develop ways to make sure that any non-human traffic is not charged for and not paid for.
What Payment ID offers is for sellers to say, look, I detected fraud, and it's not across all of your inventory, it's for this specific subset of your inventory. If you're asking for your money back, it's better to say, this singular apple was problematic, and I would like a refund on this singular apple, rather than to go in and say, I had something wrong in my grocery basket, I would like a refund.
This is the only way to treat a publisher. It's not fair to go to a publisher 30, 60, 90 days later and say, hey, it's time for you to hand a check back to us because there was fraud on your inventory. The vast majority of the time, those publishers had nothing to do with it and they're simply getting punished. This is why a real-time system is needed. It needs to be done within seconds, minutes, hours, not within weeks, months, or years.
The world doesn't need more than 5 to 7 SSPs, including native mobile, video, and display. And I think it's pretty clear who the winners of the SSP war and landscape are going to be. And that's why we spend most of our time working with SSPs that, by and large, have great quality and that we can trust and we can be confident in.
OpenX has been a huge help to us as we've gone down this rabbit hole of fraud and transparency. The Channel Shield product that we've been using with them has been a huge help to us in understanding who is selling our inventory, how much it's being sold for, and how much is being sold.
OpenX has supported an amazing marketplace quality team for many years and has done a really effective job at blocking fraud at the door.